Hello, as a note, the game will change a lot throughout development, so the end product might be a lot more different than this. But for now, let's talk about 10 tips. Some of them I'll describe more, some of them I'll describe less. The first tip is related to what the game is really about. It's a combination of Dark Souls with survival elements, but the game will get at least one more wipe before 1.0, which means you lose all of your progress like we did when the big update came right now. The game has a lot of puzzles, focuses on backtracking a lot, but it also depends on what elements of the game you like, because the game is about 12 hours long, depends on how you play. You can add 10 more hours to that if you farm 10 hours to max out the traders and the house. You also can get a lot more hours of combat and content if you just do the crucible. So it's about 30 hours of gameplay, but most of the game is done after about 12 hours. So as a note, and the most important part of tip number one, you can fully play the game and finish it without upgrading the stores, buying a house, buying schematics. It's just going to be better to play a few hours every day and not binge play for, let's say, 6+ hours. All the resources and all of the chests respawn every day, real-time days, which means you'll get a lot more loot and the fog over gets reapplied to the maps, and you can just play the maps again and get more loot. Or you can just play all of the game in one go. You can probably do it. It's about 12 hours if you are decent at games. Yes, that's kind of like the introduction for the game. Now team number 2, the most important NPC in the city, in the beginning, is Captain Randolph. You might be wondering why. Well, the game uses a hybrid system of MMO, Dark Souls, survival and so on, but that's basically the game. You have the daily bounties, which will give you, let's accept the view, accept the quest, which will give you armors that are kind of like your level, more or less, depends on where the quest is. As you can see, these things are a little below me, but this one is adequate to my level. You'll mostly get quests to kill enemies. Some of the quests will be to give resources, which are the easiest ones. But more importantly, you can get enchanted gear as well. Simple gear, but also enchanted, plus a lot of experience, plus a lot of money. Plus, sometimes you'll even get gear that you can use completely and make a build out of the gear you just get from the daily quests and the challenges. The challenges sometimes will need you to give them items, but look at this. Wow, that's actually pretty good. You're getting very, very strong items for this. You just have to give resources. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit annoying with targeting certain enemies or giving... Oh yeah, we can do this one. Ship Jewel. This is a weapon. This is an item you can use to enhance your weapon. You also have a weekly one. I think this one is before the areas got harder, so the reward is kind of lacking, man. Now, as a big note, if you start every day playing this game like this and you get all of the quests and bounties and you do them, and you also get the resources from the maps, because now the maps are filled with resources, you're going to have a much easier time advancing in the game than just farming a single area and then moving forward to the next one. So yeah, it's a bit of a mishmash of gameplay mode, so it depends on what you like and what you want to insist on. As a big note, after you do Servant of God or of Rats and Raiders, so if you do one of these quests, all of the areas will increase in difficulty. So this is no longer a beginner area, it's about level 17. This is no longer an area of level 8 to 11, it's much stronger. I think it's about level 21. This is also level 21. So the game will increase in difficulty and you'll have stronger enemies in those areas. And as you saw, the quests are also much harder. Also have something called entitlements, which I'm not sure what they do, but we'll probably figure out that later. Now let's go to tip number 3, which is the player house. Well, how much should you invest in the player house? By the way, there are a few houses you can buy. I guess you can get the one you like. I chose the manor because it's big. Probably that one would be a good choice as well over there. This is the closest to all of this stuff. Basically, this is what you'll be playing in most of the time.
Sacrament endures.
At the player house, how much should you invest in it? Well, if you only care about the story and the combat, then you should only buy chests. 2 or 3 chests will be more than enough for the entire game. But like I said in the beginning, you don't really have to buy a house because you don't really have much to do with it. Mostly you'll find item refiners over here or material refiners, but you can also refine the materials you get at the vendors. So let's kind of have a quick tour of the manor. So I basically come over here, press V to deposit similar items. One chest is for food. The other one is for materials. They've increased the maximum amount of items you can stack up to 100, so otherwise we'd have needed more than 2. Also have another chest over here for equipment. Also get the selling unique stuff. There are also unique weapons and some other stuff, but again, this is another thing to talk about. Oh yeah, and this one has a very interesting room over here that looks like an occultist room. We also can make potions and some other stuff over here. So the houses are very good, but there's not much to do with them right now. And they're very expensive. You're basically going to use up the money you'll be using to upgrade your gear or your character, or buying better food and some other stuff to just make a house you'll not really be using too much. Also, a bed would be nice over here because before you log off you have to sleep to get a bonus, but you can just do that repaired inn. Number 4, the second most important NPC is Danos. He's the guy that sells you house things, but also upgrades all of the vendors. So if you upgrade the vendors, that means you'll get better items from them. Mostly you can just get away with upgrading only the armor and the weapon vendor, the blacksmith. But if you upgrade the other stuff, you can also get a few more things. Also, a note over here, I recommend you make the rookery elevator because that will make it much easier to go to the rookery. We have a few other things going for you. Thirdly, this is real time, so basically you have to give the order to build something before you log off, because sometimes it will take a very long time and you don't really want to upgrade this because this takes quite a while and you need quite a lot of resources to do this, so the projects are faster. So make a project, go to bed in the game, that's kind of it. Very MMO-ish if you ask me. Also he will sell you stuff. Now, regarding the stuff over here, you might not even want to buy the first stuff, because you can just use the vendors for that. So you have the simple tanning rack, the sturdy tanning rack, and then finally you'll have the fine tanning rack. And this, I think, will appear as you progress through the game. So, it's not much point in buying the simpler one, since you can get the endgame one, which is... I think this is available for most of the crafting station as well, so you can find... Anyway, it's very expensive to buy all of them and just swap them out. You might as well just buy the fine stuff when it appears. You can get away by just getting a stove, a workbench, and an anvil in your manor if you really want to have it like that. Number 5. Character stats. Well, the stats are a bit like a stat monkey. Only a few stats actually influence the way you play the game. Mostly strength, intelligence, faith. These ones are mostly for weapons that increases their damage. So as you can see, the base damage of the mace is 26. I have 22 faith, or 24. I don't know why it's 22 over here. That means the total damage is increased to 48. So yeah. And for dexterity, I guess it scales off the weapon, so the more damage it does, the better it will scale. So with the scythe, as you can see, we only have 15 dexterity, which is not a lot, but that 15 point of dexterity brings up the damage to 77, which is great. The shields will also require some stats, but mostly these are stat monkey stuff. You don't really get anything increased. The more important ones will be health, stamina, equipment load, and focus. Now, this is a bit of an annoying thing because I think the max level is either 25 or 30. I forgot the exact one, but I think it was increased to 30 this update, I'm not sure. But the problem is you need to invest a lot, well, let's say you need about 200 HP, otherwise food is not that good and you will have a lot of issues dying very fast. Unless you play a mage class or a range class, but that's a topic for another day. Also need about, I don't think you need as much stamina as I have, but... This is how many swings you can do with full stamina, right? I think about movement. So let's say you dodge roll a few times and then use a few attacks. So that's basically more than all of your... It's half of my stamina, but in most cases that will drain your stamina completely because there are some other effects you will have to deal with in the game. So stamina is also pretty important if you are a warrior, but for other classes as well, because this is what you use to run in combat, dodge roll, and some other stuff. equipment mode, well, this is what you need to have the cool stuff equipped. And focus, you can think of focus like your mana points. The more focus you have, the more you can use certain runes on your weapons. Now this is very important for mages, but for warriors you can more or less skip this mechanic and you cannot, well, I guess you can not put points into focus, but you'll miss out on a small part of the game. Mostly you'll be using your weapons to kill enemies, so it doesn't matter that much. So it's a bit of a hit and miss in my opinion, because you'll need to put a lot of points into certain things that you'll just need to put them if you want to play a certain class. Plus you can also play as a mage, because it doesn't matter, you can have mage enchantments on your heavy armor as well, so it doesn't matter what type of armor you're using. But more importantly, sometimes your equipment will have negative stats on it, and the enchantments will be so good, but there will be bad enchantments as well, or negative ones. Also use rings or something like that to increase your equipment load, so it's a bit of a hit and miss. So don't play too much with the system unless you decide what to do. So faith is mostly maces and hammers, intelligence is mages and wands. Basically the wands don't do melee damage that much, but they have a lot of skills that are very fun to use. Dexterity is mostly knives and light weapons, I think bows as well to a certain degree. Strength is mostly big weapons. Anyway, if you have any questions, just ask over here. As you can see, having a lot of armor is great because it basically reduces the damage take by half. Boys, I didn't find that important because if you're going to get staggered, you're going to get staggered anyway by that particular enemy. Almost unavoidable. So let's go to team number 6, armor and weapon vendor. Now, this will make more sense once we meet... Wow, they talk a lot. This will make more sense once you meet the enchantment vendor. Oh, they're over here. Actually, here and here you can see both of them.
We were born behind these walls and we'll pass.
Ah, come on, shut up. Also want to show that this is tier 3 vendor, and as you can see they have already the things you can use to craft. They're not fine, they are not the highest quality, but you can use them, right? So buying over here, as you can see, you can buy the recipes, but mostly at the max tier, max level, you can buy armor of any type. You have the mesh, the cloth, the plate, the leather. You can basically mix and match your equipment because, like I said, this is only... the equipment is mostly like a stat monkey as well. So you can buy, let's say, the heavy armor, the some light armor, and then just buy light armor pieces for the rest of your gear and just hope you'll get the right enchantments. But at the same time, it's a bit of an annoying thing because if you get, let's say, a wilding helmet that is a very low level item, you can get in the first hours of playing the game. Well, maybe after a few hours of playing the game you can get it. As you can see, if you get a good enchantment like armor increased by 20%, that means you'll get a huge bonus to the other stuff. So it's just basically filling out the places that you don't have good armor and just working with the weight system.
Man's best friend. Hello, old friend.
It's kind of a shame that individual armors and items don't have bonuses or stat bonuses or, you know, set bonuses. As for the weapons, you can always buy the tools. You don't have much in the shop in the beginning of the game and not even in the late game because you mostly find items or craft items at some point or just get them as you are, like this one over here. It's a very good weapon and well, I guess it's a bit of an annoying thing that has a bad thing on it. And the same thing will apply to the armor, you can upgrade it, so you'll upgrade armors and weapons. The point where you don't even really need to buy much stuff, much more the new stuff. So basically copper and weapon shards, I forgot to show you at the armor vendor, but it's more or less the same stat. You can upgrade weapons and armor about 5 times before they become too expensive to upgrade like this one, requiring the bear paw, the silver ingot. Sadly they also give a flat stat bonus, so you get 6 every upgrade for this scythe, for example. Same for the other one, you just get a flat upgrade. The enchantment and the other stuff will be more interesting, so let's go over there. You only get basic equipment from these guys. And here is where it gets a little more fun. This is team number 7, the enchantment vendor.
I felt the awe.
Enchanting something will mean you remove its gem slots. Now you get a random number of enchantments from what I understand up to 5, so it can be between 3 and 5. Heavy feather armor. That sounds horrible. So again, it's randomized and sometimes you can get a negative one. And then you have the infuse. What is infuse? Infusing is putting a certain rune or item into it. I guess it's a gem, but can you really call a feather a gem? So I kind of recommend you get an armor set that you like and then put a lot of gems into them and then enchantment. So I guess it's a bit of an annoying thing because you basically have to go and buy an armor, fetch the armor, take it here, enchant it. If you like, for example, this one over here, enchant it, and if you like the enchantment, then you can infuse it with a rune of your choice. For example, like the diamond, and then you can upgrade the level of the armor a little more, so you get a little more armor. So basically you can play the game with the same equipment from start to end if you upgrade it, enchant it with the right stuff, and then only then you infuse it. Only if you like the enchantments you infuse it. This can be found or bought, but mostly you find them. And the runes you just apply a rune to the weapon. The runes are a bit of a hit or miss system because the developers are still working on it. These are the ones. This is the best thing in the game, the Endless Winter two-handed staff. Super strong, especially for mages, and you have all types of damage, and as you can see, the weapon itself doesn't do much, but you can deal a little bit of damage with it. Fireball, Fire Nova, Channel, Flame Sweep, Inferno, Armageddon, and Firewall. Molten Clutch. And this is kind of like the basic idea of the game and how you should be playing it. Now, you can apply 4 runes to a weapon if you don't enchant it, but seriously, you probably will enchant every item you get, or if you get enchanted items, you'll only have 1 slot. So, an example will be mine over here. Has 5 enchantments on it. Gain focus, gain health on kill, more damage at full health, time after fatality. Then I put a lifesteal gem on it, so as you can see, I get health when I attack enemies, I get health when they die. Plus it does a lot of damage, plus it scales pretty well, and I also put a heal gem on it, so it's basically going to eliminate the need for having breaks or healing items in my case. Now again, I'm not going too much into the system because, again, if you play a mage, you'll look at all of the runes and use the runes more often. If not, well, mostly be using 1 or 2 runes. Now since we're in the enchantment section of the tip section, over here you have the bows, or some of the bows, a spear. And this is where you might want to get more gems or enchantments. I guess it depends on the playstyle. Some people just choose more gems and play with more focus stats, while others will just go for the pure damage and not to really bother too much with the other stuff, because the game is pretty easy right now because of the daily quests and the daily bounties, which give you a lot of stuff. Too much in a way. By the way, this is some furniture and this is the big chest, so you go from 20 items to 40. You also get a few schematics, but you'll not really be going too much into building and stuff like that.
Eyes up.
And I guess I should show also the last vendor, because the last vendor is mostly a hand weapon.
As make that.
The claws, the wraps, the crescent, and then you have some other runes over here, but these are mostly weapon techniques. Like throwing something. The drop kick is kind of fun. Turn back kick is also kind of fun, but the game is not finished and most of this stuff is only for fun. It's not really that useful. Now the Plague Ichor. The Plague Ichor is a special item you can get from certain bosses or for certain bounties. So this is where the game kind of loses its appeal as a Dark Souls game. Certain daily missions, mostly kill missions, give you a Plague Ichor as well. So you can get Plague Ichors from the main bosses of the game, but also from the daily quests or bounties. So it's a bit annoying. And that's why, like I said, you need the elevator. Once you build the elevator, you can go up there, so you can go through here like that, instead of walking all the way around. What should you unlock with the Plague Ichor? Well, I guess we have to go there, so it's a little easier to explain. But yeah, so basically the more days you play the game, the easier it becomes because you can do more daily quests and get more items, more money, more stuff in general. And you can also kind of gamble more with the items because, for example, I will buy an Eversoul Knight armor and then go enchant it. If I don't like it, well, then I'm out of money and I have to farm more. Let's relax a little bit over here. Sometimes I hate the game. What happened here? It's a bug. Oh well, I guess this is how it is. I'll just leave this in the video as well, so you can see how the system kind of works and why it's a bit annoying, because you cannot travel between the points, but the developer said you will be able to travel between the points at some point.
If not us, then who, Sarah?
And there are a lot of things that just annoy you to no end with the backtracking, because if you die, for example, then you have to push the elevator down again, wait until it comes back, watch the scroll, enjoy the scroll, become one with the scroll. And I guess this is more related to tip number 1, like I said. So the longer you play the game, the easier it becomes and the more interesting it becomes as well.
You must.
Well, that's Hideo Kojima over there, Plague Icon. So what should you unlock with your Plague Icons? Well, it depends on your playstyle. As you can see, you only need 4 tool slots. Don't take more because you don't have more than 4 tools. Or at least for now. The first thing I think you should get is, well, I'm not sure if you have 4 or 3 tool slots in the beginning. Just take one more tool slot if you don't have 4. The first thing you should get is more food usage. As you can see, I'm up to 10. Well, not up to 8. Every fight you can only eat food about 3 or 4 times in the beginning, but you can upgrade that number easily. So I recommend you get a few food upgrades and then you get a ring slot unlocked. It actually takes quite a bit of time before you get your first ring. Sometimes you can buy it in the on the vendor near the... well, I guess I should show. The junk vendor will sometimes have rings, materials, infused stuff. This is a great vendor over here as well to upgrade. So, what should you upgrade? Well, upgrade the tool slot if you don't have 4, upgrade food usage 1 or 2 times, and then get a ring slot. And then you can just focus on getting more of this stuff over here. I recommend the first one you unlock is material slots, so you can have more room for materials. Resource slots. And then unlock all of the rings, and then finally, when you are kind of happy with your selection, well, again, this depends on how much you play and how much you want to collect stuff. But more or less, you can get food, you can get material, resource slots, food slots, equipment, maybe 1 equipment if you have the time. But you should also get another main weapon slot over here, because that will allow you to switch weapons. So, short. Get more food usage a few times, get the ring slots, then get material and food slots, and then at some point you can get another main weapon slot, because it will allow you to switch. So this is my farming weapon for quicker enemies and for bosses, and then I have the more specialized kit for stronger enemies and stronger bosses, because daily bounties are not strong bosses. But I actually use the parry. These are actually quite fast attack and strong, and then I can just switch to the other weapon for the kill to get the bonus. So kinda get the idea with this one. Okay, let's go back down. Now, let's speak about the classes and the runes. So this is tip number 9. As you can see, you kind of have to heavily lean into a build. You can make hybrid classes without any issues, but at some point the developers will introduce proper classes. What does that mean? I don't know. The developers didn't really tell us. So let's prepare a little bit for that. By the way, as a free tip, you get herbs over here as well. So come and take those items. you profit from the poor man's work over there.
I'm useless.
Serum?
Everything is a price.
So if you want to be a warrior, that's probably the easiest way to play the game, because you only need a weapon and a little bit of armor, and the rings, mostly you cannot equip rings of the same type, so you have 1 of each. This is kind of a nice one. And what about, like, this is tip number 9, the classes and the runes? Well, if you want to be a mage, you'll mostly buy the runes, and you'll have to experiment a lot with the weapons and the enchantment system for the staffs and the
Not all weapons.
ones and the other stuff. But if you become a warrior, you basically have to spend your money, all of your money, for that purpose. So
Geez, about time you came back.
at some point you'll be able to put the runes back in the weapons and take them out. But for now, basically, if you decide to be a warrior, you'll have to buy a few pieces of heavy armor and then go in enchantment until you get what you want. If you want to be a mage, you'll have to get the runes
Fresh ways delivered every morning.
and put them in the weapons that you like. If you want to be an archer, you have to get the boss from there and kind of repeat the same playstyle over and over.
I see the glint of steel in your eyes.
And at some point you'll get some really cool stuff.
Been out explore.
I really wish they would stop talking when I want to see them. But yeah, this is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted to show. So this guy will, as you can see, will start stocking rings. 15% more damage, but take 21% more damage. I guess if you're a mage, this doesn't bother you that much. There are also potions and consumables to gain focus or other stuff. I'll not even get into those things because they're not as useful as they sound. I mean, if you're playing as a mage, you might need a few focus potions, but you don't really need them for now. So you can also get kind of nice schematics. Oh, a chimney. Nice. Or just very rare materials that you might need to complete or upgrade your weapons over here. So this is kind of hard to do and probably the more annoying part of the game. So as you can see, I got another item that gives me lifesteal. So basic, this is the end game. So tip number 9 is related to the class and the runes and the end game, and this is, you basically have to make the equipment you like for the end game just by doing all of the things I mentioned until now. So buying the weapons, enchanting them, if they are good you upgrade them, and then you infuse them with some runes, not with runes, with gems, and then you give them the proper amount of runes. Usually you should only put 1 or 2 runes in a weapon if you are not sure if you're going to keep it for a long time or not. So basically I will have 2 weapons with lifesteal. I'll have my armor with armor bones, preferably if you're a warrior that will take a lot of damage, but other than that you can also do some other stuff with it. And the rings, yeah, well, it's a lot of work. I don't know, it's not worth it because you lose all of this at some point and you can finish the game with all of this stuff as well. So a bit of a mess situation. Birdman or armor. It's up to you. There are a lot of items you cannot buy from the vendors. You can only get them from their areas, like this one's from the lowland area. That's basically the end game. Tip number 10, the healing and the weight class. Now you may be wondering, why am I talking about them together? Because the armor really matters in this game, and it's more important than your dodge in a way, because once you attack, you'll take damage. So sometimes it's better to take damage, heal the damage, or have items that allow you to heal health after killing or attacking enemies. Now the problem is that the game is a little bit weird in this sense. As you can see, you have a huge attack range no matter what you do, especially if you do a run attack. So basically my reach is kind of like almost the entire screen with this weapon. Even with the lighter weapons you have quite a lot of reach. And once you get into attacking, you'll just start the combo. So because of the way the game works, range is not really a problem ever, and you'll be able to attack your enemies without any issues, unless they dodge or run away. So that means it's a lot better to focus on armor rather than dodging, and there are a few dodge types. So you have the normal one, and the first one turns into a proper dodge. So it's no longer a roll, it's actually a dodge.
It's just another word for urban.
But you have parry, you have, this is block, this is parry, and then you have the dodge, and then you also have the roll if you don't have it. So it's kind of a bit useless to be so fragile and just, you know, dodge faster. So in my opinion, light is not worth going for, or fast. Also, you might want to torch over there. And if you're using heavy, you will get a shoulder push. V. this is kind of fun because you can push enemies off the ledge or do some other stuff. But more importantly, it can affect bigger enemies as well, so as you can see, it's not really worth it because with heavier armor you can be much more aggressive. And as for healing, well, you can heal with cheap food outside of combat, meaning the mushroom soup. Oh, so many mushroom soups were eaten. And in combat you use the good food to heal, like these ones that heal 100. And you can also use some other food types to buff yourself. For example, this will give you health and focus, so the fish salad is great for a mage. But also for a character like ours, because you can use this to gain the focus and then gain another heal with the weapon rune. And there are a lot of food types. You can get food that increases your health by, let's say, 30 points temporary. And the endgame food stuff is even better, but you don't really need it. Also, I recommend use cheap food when you are farming the low level areas, and once they upgrade to the more dangerous areas, then at that point you should have a weapon or something that restores health, so you don't have to use so much food and so many resources. And those are mostly my thoughts and my endgame builds, how you get the endgame builds, and kind of everything you need to know about the game in its current shape and form. I'll also make a separate video for the... Oh, shut up. Shut up. Also make another video about the housing system and what you can do with the house, the potions and the food crafting and some of the other stuff. But for that I really need to farm more and get more items, and most important to get all of the recipes. As you can see, it can be quite hard to get them because the simplest way to get them is to just watch the vendor every day, but that's going to take a long time. Anyway, see you next time. Bye.